Welcome to Frasier on Film, the Frasier TV show podcast with a twist. Each episode of the podcast visits each episode of Frasier across its 11-series run. But our main focus isn't on the good doctor himself, no. It's going to be one of the guest appearances on the show that week. That could be one of the many A-listers who called into Frasier's KACL radio show, or just someone who made a fleeting appearance at Cafe Nervosa. We'll delve into that actor's backstory, look over their cinematic offerings, and deep dive into one movie specifically. By the end, we'll see if we can make a connection between their character in Frasier and their character in the film we've just talked about. So you'll be hearing about icons and wash-ups, legends and starlets, sherry drinkers and beer guzzlers, blockbusters and B-movies. It's going to be an education in it all. But what if you don't really watch Frasier? That's fine, you'll probably know the actors we're talking about. And if you don't really know the actors we're talking about, then that's fine too. You'll know the movies. So whether you're a fan of Frasier or you're a fan of film, this is the podcast for you. So, pull up your favourite bar stool at McGinty's and tell the wine club you'll be running late. Because this is Frasier on Film, and I'm your host, Ben Murray. And you're listening. What if Frasier wasn't a radio celebrity? Instead, it was the television which captured his mind, his body, and his soul forever. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Here we go again on Season 1, Episode 8 of Frasier on Film and of Frasier itself. Today's episode, Beloved Infidel, brings us the joys of JoBeth Williams and allows us the indulgence of revisiting a bit of a horror classic from the past, Poltergeist. Another film with Stephen Spielberg's fingerprints all over it. First I gave you Arachnophobia, now I swing a second fist and give you Poltergeist. It's the podcast that keeps on giving. We'll be coming on to JoBeth Williams and her life shortly, but allow me to take a moment to introduce you to Frasier on Film's very first in-person guest. Oh yes, in true Frasier style, we also have calling cameos, but this is a damn co-starring role on this episode. I've known him a long time. Some of our listeners will know him too, but for those of you who don't, give it up for my longtime friend and my other podcast co-host. It's FilmBusters Paul. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hello, Ben. It's lovely to be here. So happy. Very nervous to be on another podcast. You know, it's very nice to be here.
Don't you be nervous, because I've got enough nerves for both of us. I was telling Paul before we recorded, this is the first time that someone is hearing Frasier on Film, because all the other stuff has been pre-recorded. I don't want to break the spell of podcasting magic, but that's the interesting thing. The other interesting thing is, Paul, you don't know the format of this podcast currently.
I have no idea. Literally about an hour ago, you kind of gave me an inkling of what this could be about, and I still don't really know, but I'm looking forward to it.
Good. I'm glad you're looking forward to it. Hopefully the listeners will enjoy it as well. Let's break some more podcasting magic. This episode has been recorded well in advance of the first episode even being released, so that's why Paul has no context or content for it. I'm just keeping him in the dark as we go along. So, Paul, this is either going to be very good listening entertainment, or it's going to fall flat on its face with people. But either way, the magic of editing will make it all seem seamless. Me and you work together very well on podcasts. I'm sure we can make this work.
Of course we can. It always works, doesn't it?
It always does work. So, first things first, let's talk about the episode of Frasier we just watched, shall we?
Okay.
Look, don't bother calling Aunt Vivian. You want to know the truth? Fine. I had an affair. It happened a long time ago, and it's not anything I'm proud of. And now that I've answered all your questions, do me a favor. This is never to be brought up again, understand? End of discussion.
Episode title, Beloved Infidel, air date 4th of November 1993, written by Leslie Eberhard, and the director is Andy Ackerman. We get JoBeth Williams right off the bat in this episode. She's calling up about her monsieur, and Frasier's advice is to confront her monsieur or work on her self-esteem. We get another of Roz's dates brought up. We get early on in the episode a reminder that Roz likes to sleep around. She's a man-eater for sure. But this particular man that we're introduced to doesn't sound too classy. Niles gets introduced to Roz for the third time. This running joke is ongoing. What brings you here? Just passing by, thought I'd stop in for a career. A lecture's been cancelled, so Frasier and Niles have to make some last-minute dinner plans. So they head to this restaurant, and while they're there, they see Martin is on a date. And very quickly, they come to the conclusion that Martin is having an affair. Reason being, they recognize the woman that he is with as someone that they knew when they were children. They remember going to their log cabin. They remember seeing their father with this woman in the shadows, seemingly locked in an embrace. Niles brings up his childhood diary. There's lots of jokes that come from that. Daphne is brought into the fold, and then Daphne spills the beans when Martin walks in the door that the boys think that he's had an affair. Martin admits it straight away. I had an affair a long time ago, and I'm not proud of it. Never bring it up again. As we go through the episode, we get a few jokes, but what we get is a little bit of heart. We get more of that Frasier heart, which I love so well, which is the gravity of the situation. Frasier's still wrestling with the fact that his father betrayed, well, as he puts it.
How am I doing? How are you doing, Niles? Doesn't it bother you that your father cheated on my mother?
Frasier, your loyalties are seeping through, and I might point out that I got Mom's small features while you got Dad's chunky thighs.
He can't come to terms with it. And when the final confrontation comes at the end of the episode, we get the real gravitas. There's bits that I love. We get the real brink of tears moment from Kelsey Grammer. We get that acting, which is so good from him. And when he then confronts his dad at the very end, we get the truth. It was the mother who had the affair. Martin was trying to protect the boys. This is what I love. This is everything I love about Frasier. I have to also say, this is the funniest episode so far for me. Not since Space Quest. In the first episode, is there so much heart and human emotion and condition. There's loads of great legwork in this first season to make you care about these characters. And this is episode 8, and you feel like you understand where they're coming from. Now, I know my guest today, Paul, is not really, if at all, a fan of sitcoms, let alone Frasier. What did you make of this episode, Paul? I know I gave it to you out of context, but how did you feel? What's your experience of Frasier, etc.?
So Frasier in general, like the only really knowledge I have of it was before school, it'd be on TV, and it'd just be one of those ones that'd be on the TV, and you're not really watching it. You kind of just getting the jokes and laughing a little bit, but not really getting involved in the show. And I've always known you've been a massive fan, but still, I've never ever gone to it and really gone through it. And even when it's on TV now, I would never flick it on because sitcoms just really aren't my bag. It's just the comedy in general isn't really my bag. But being faced with an episode that I have to watch for this podcast, I enjoyed it, man. It was a wonderful journey. It's just you get the real levels of the show. You get the humor from them struggling with this idea that their father could be cheating. But then you also get the really deep, beautiful levels of, wow, this is not just comedy now. This is real dramatic, like beautiful life playing out.
That's why I love it so much. That's why, look, I'm doing a podcast about Frasier now, which I never thought I would do. But that's the reason that I love Frasier so much, is because it manages, for me anyway, to be so funny and sharp, and then it can swing so quickly and become really heartfelt. Like the amount of times that I've been on the brink of tears watching Frasier episodes is unreal. And I'm not on the brink of tears in this, but to see the level of human emotion that they have in this episode alongside jokes, I think is why it is the perfect sitcom for me.
Yeah, to see the whiplash of being in a comedy setting and thinking, oh, this is just a funny little gag that's going along that the dad's having an affair. But then to switch and be like, no, it's the mother who's died, and you can't really grasp that or kind of confront it because she's died. It's like, and it's something that's happened, and you can't really ever come to grips with that. And that's just a real like, wow, man, it's something to really wrestle with, and it's great.
I think what the thing that's so, I don't know how familiar you are with Frasier generally, anyway, but the crux of the narrative so far, because this is season 1, is that Frasier has come to Seattle to have this radio career. He's moved away from his little boy, he's divorced, and immediately his dad has had to move in with him because he fell over and he can't live by himself anymore. So, as you can tell in the episode, the dad is absolute contrast to Frasier and Niles. So the gag is, oh, we're at odds with each other. And that gag could be really shit, but actually it works well because they keep throwing up these personal hurdles that connect them. And this is the ultimate, right? It's like, Frasier is like, me and my mother were two peas in a pod. I loved mum more than dad, but me and mum understood each other. Me and dad are opposites. But here is immediately a moral and ethical situation, which is like, well, you have to be on your dad's side.
Yeah, you have to take sides.
Yeah. Did you find it funny? Crucially, did you laugh at any of this?
I chuckled. I chuckled. I never laugh out loud at sitcoms in general.
What was the funniest bit then? What was the bit that made you chuckle most?
Your father cheated on my mother. I think that was the best.
Yes.
The best joke to come out of this episode.
Yeah.
Really great.
It is. It's very heartfelt and whatnot. So anyway, it's quite a significant moment in the Frasier journey. But the idea here is to sort of uncover actors and actresses who are less well known, but still have a career, and sort of explore it a little bit and see what we can learn. And we'll do a little bit of that in a minute. But our person for this episode is JoBeth Williams, and I'm going to play her call to Frasier right now.
Danielle, you're going to have to slow down a little bit. I'm having a hard time understanding you.
I'm sorry, Dr. Crane. I'm having a big problem with my monsieur.
Excuse me, with your what?
My monsieur?
Your monsieur?
Oui, my monsieur. Every day.
Is that your mother?
No, my monsieur.
Your masseur? Your Mercedes?
Monsieur, my monsieur. You must help me.
Well, Danielle, the best advice I can give you is to either confront your monsieur or work on your self-esteem. Thank you for your call.
So that was JoBeth Williams calling up about her monsieur. And this is it, Paul. Sometimes the callers are only on the show for about 15 seconds and then I make a whole fucking episode out of them.
Love it. It's great.
Yeah. So JoBeth Williams, who made that call, for those Frasier fans who are listening, she actually has she has a guest role in season 3 or season 4 of Frasier on camera as Frasier's girlfriend across Adventures in Paradise Part 1 and Part 2. Yeah, she's the one who goes to Bora Bora with Frasier while Lilith is there. But we'll get to those in several years, I suppose. Paul, what do you say we get away from the seriousness of affairs and departed mothers and heartbreak and talk about JoBeth Williams?
Let's do it.
Let us do it. So, JoBeth Williams, born on December the 6th, 1948 in a little place known as South Park in Houston.
Oh, jeez.
I know.
It's a real place.
I know. I don't know if South Park, the animated TV show, is actually in Houston, Texas, but this place where she was born was. I don't know. Does the animated show South Park ever say where? No, Colorado, they say, don't they?
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah, they're up in the mountains. Is Colorado the opposite of Texas?
I could not tell you.
I imagine it is. It's mountainous. It's got to be North America. Anyway, her dad was an opera singer and her mum was a dietitian. So naturally, her father's creative leanings meant she was encouraged at an early age to seek a career in the arts. So she went to Jones High School and she took an active interest in theatre. And at the age of 18, she made her professional stage debut in a Houston-based musical production. But that is where her dramatic dreams almost died, because she soon started university and decided to study for a career as a child psychologist. That's interesting. We may talk about that when we talk about today's film, maybe. But the acting bug, it had bitten her deep. She couldn't shake it. And after receiving a BA in English in 1970, something which helped her to lose her Texas twang, she decided to definitely pursue a career in theatre. So she trained for several years, and her first on-screen break came in 1977 when she joined the children's television series Jabberwocky as a host. And this Jabberwocky, from what I've been able to discern, is kind of like Sesame Street. There's puppets and live actors and musical numbers and cartoons and all of that sort of stuff. I guess it's like Sesame Street or the Muppets or something like that. Either way, she was the host on that for a couple of years. So the show ran until 1978, and alongside a few recurring roles in soap operas at the time, her face began to get noticed. But she wasn't big in film. It was TV and a bit of theatre. TV and a bit of theatre. But then in 1979, she got her feature film debut. It was only in a very small role, but it was as Dustin Hoffman's girlfriend in Kramer versus Kramer. You seen that Kramer versus Kramer, Paul?
I've never seen it. It's been on my list for a while. Never got to that one.
Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep. I believe it's a small role. I haven't seen it, so I couldn't even frame it. It would take a few more films before her star finally hit the big time. In as much as her star did hit the big time, she was in Stir Crazy, she was in The Dogs of War. They were both released in 1980. That certainly didn't hurt. But, of course, it was her role as the strong-willed mother of three, fighting to save her kids from home-invading demons in Spielberg's Poltergeist, which really planted her flag in 1982. More on that in just a second. Away from the big screen in 1982, that very same year, Williams married her husband, John Pasquin. Still married to him to this day. Pasquin is best known, well, I don't really think he's well known at all, to be fair, but he is known for being the director of Home Improvement, The Santa Claus, Jungle to Jungle. He likes to work with...
Oh, right. Tim Robbins.
Yes. Is that his name?
Tim Robbins?
What the hell's his name?
That's not his name, is it? Tim.
What is his name? It's Tim. You are correct. Tim Allen. Tim Allen.
Allen.
Is it? No, hang on. Is it Tim Allen?
Tim.
It's Buzz Lightyear. He likes to work with Buzz Lightyear.
Tim Allen. Tim Robbins is fucking Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yes. We'll leave all that in. We'll leave all that in. So she's married to Tim Robbins or Tim Allen or Buzz Aldrin. One of those three she's married to. She then found further success on the big screen. She went into critical hits like The Big Chill, which I've seen and I wasn't very... It was fine. Maybe I was too young for that. And The Day After. But after a string of disappointing releases, including, spoiler alert, Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. So she does make it, ladies and gentlemen. She makes it through this film. It meant that she saw more challenging roles in TV over film. It was her belief that there weren't enough good roles for women in film. So she moved to TV. And that wasn't a mistake, because she found great success there. She landed 3 Emmys for her roles in the TV movie Adam, the miniseries Baby M, and of course, and bizarrely, for her 2 starring roles in Frasier in later seasons. She got an Emmy for that. She was doing very well in television. So well that she was supposedly in a position to turn down the lead role in Murphy Brown in 1988. Murphy Brown, you know about that Murphy Brown, Paul?
Never even heard of it. What's that?
Murphy Brown, I've never seen it, but I always hear it get referenced in like American films and shows. She was, I believe, like a lawyer, a very high-profile, no-nonsense lawyer. It was a big show in America. JoBeth turned it down. JoBeth said, no thanks. I won't be doing that. She was okay. She didn't need to do it.
That's fine.
It is fine. I suppose it's fine. Into the 90s, and she made her directorial debut with the 1994 short film On Hope. And you may think, why are you bringing up directorial short films? This is not relevant. It may have only been a short, but it got her an Academy Award nomination as Best Director for a live-action film.
Wow, well done.
I know, there you go. And as the acclaimed television work continued, so did the odd movie here and there. In 2006, she was inducted into the Texas Film Hall of Fame on March the 10th in Austin, Texas. We have a couple of friends that way, Paul, who might be able to go and see her shrine or trophy or whatever they have in Austin, Texas.
Let us know what it's like.
Go and take a picture and send it in, won't you? Apparently, Matthew McConaughey and Chris Christopherson and Sybil Shepherd were all inducted at the same time. So that's quite the lineup. Now then, Paul, particularly for you, let's see if you know, in 2007, she joined the cast of a TV series in a recurring role. I'm going to pause there. Do you know what it is? Well, I know you know what it is, but do you know?
2007.
Yes.
I was 2017. What? So I'm guessing it's a big show that I like, right?
Oh yeah, it's a show you very much like.
2007.
And so she wasn't really.
Oh no,
she's not a huge presence in it, but she's in it, I believe, from memory. I think for about at least one season, pretty much all the way through it, maybe two.
What? And you like this? You like this series too?
I mean, yeah, I do like it. I like it. Yes, I like it.
Man.
I like it, but it's a long show with many seasons, and some are better than others.
I don't know. What was she in?
Okay. I was stunned because I was like, oh, yeah, that is her. You are a big fan of the TV series Dexter.
Oh, right, yeah.
Do you know who she played in Dexter?
Who was she in? No, I don't know. Do I know?
Many listeners who've seen Dexter will even be scratching their heads right now. She played Rita's mum, Gail, Dexter's mother-in-law.
Oh.
Yes.
I can't even remember Rita's mum.
If you remember, only reason I can really remember Rita's mum is because I recently tried to do a rewatch of Dexter and struggled with it a bit. And she pops up in like season 2 or 3, and she's very bitchy. She's very harsh to Dexter. She has a very harsh worldview.
Ah, I see her now. I just got a picture up. Yeah,
you remember her. She's very stern. Very stern.
Yeah. Well, I'll be.
If this was the FilmBusters podcast, at this point, we'd do a detour as to some things in Dexter and some things that I have to say about Dexter, but this is not the FilmBusters podcast, so
it's not the time or place.
No. If you're interested in that sort of thing, go and listen to my other podcast, FilmBusters, where you can hear me and Paul do that every other week. That's good fun. Anyway, yeah, so she was in Dexter, and then in 2009, she began serving as the president of the Screen Actors Guild Foundation. She's currently the president emeritus of the foundation. Now, this is quite significant, I think, because I didn't really know what that meant, but what it means is she was the original president of SAG. You know, when they went on strike last year? Yeah, she's the president emeritus, which means she was the original president, and no matter what happens now, she will always be known as the crucial president. The key president.
That's nuts. She's got fingerprints all over the acting world.
Well, she has. She certainly has. When she was starting as an actress, she was told 90% of actors are out of work at any time. So she was like, she was always thinking, I need to make sure that I protect myself. And when she got a bit more popular, she wanted to protect others, hence being a part of this. It's a charity. It's like a charity for actors. So it's not just all high-profile actors. Of course, they're part of it. But, I mean, many people think all actors make money, but that's not true. That there's loads of actors that we'll see, particularly on something like Frasier, who pop up for a couple of episodes or something, and they'll be making close to bloody minimum wage, and they are going from job to job. So they do need that support. And she does it. She's there, and I believe that they do things like they give people casting lessons and how to audition for jobs, and they have recording studios so they can record like resumes for voiceover work and things like that. So it's quite a nice thing.
That's beautiful. I love that.
I suppose. So that's where we're at, and that's JoBeth Williams. So part of the process of this podcast, Paul, is until I start the episode, I don't know anything about the person. So I watch Frasier, I make a note on their appearance in that, and then I go and do the research, and then I come back and then I record what I have learned about JoBeth. What do you make about any of that? Anything in particular that's interesting about that? Anything you'd want to know more about or whatever?
I mean, I'm so blown away that she's heads up SAG. That's like, well, used to head up SAG.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I'd see her in anything else other than Poltergeist. So to think that she's like so crucial in helping out actors like in every stage of their lives, like especially when the strikes were happening, that is insane. That's wonderful. It
is. And that's the thing I'm hoping is going to be nice about this podcast, is finding people like JoBeth Williams and finding out that there are decent people working in Hollywood. So the thing that's interesting is not everyone's a nice person. Just because you like an actor or an actress doesn't mean you're going to agree with them. I knew nothing about JoBeth Williams. You didn't really know nothing about JoBeth Williams. So it is nice to see someone behind the scenes doing good work. And it is nice. I tell you, someone who also was very nice to hear about recently, Jeff Daniels. When you hear that episode, Jeff Daniels, what a sweetheart, man. In a way you wouldn't believe.
Aw.
Very nice.
That's nice.
Yeah. So it's nice to discover some of these people. My understanding about her involvement in something like SAG-AFTRA also is that, maybe away from that, but part of it, she really champions women's stories, particularly women over 40.
Fantastic.
She tries to be involved with projects that have female-only casts and female-only directors and writers. I haven't seen it. I saw an interview with her. They did a film called Chantilly Bridge about 15, 20 years ago, which was all women cast, all women crew. And it proved really popular that they did a sequel recently called Chantilly Lace. And it's mostly improvised, and it's all about women, all starring women, and not talking about men. And I think that's quite refreshing. Very refreshing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Elevate those projects, man. That's wonderful.
So as a reminder, she moved to television because she didn't think there were good enough roles for women there. Being part of television, she swept a bunch of Emmys. She went and headed up SAG-AFTRA. She champions women's stories. She champions women directors. She's a big fan of Reese Witherspoon's production company, Hello Sunshine, which I didn't know. Reese Witherspoon has this company called Hello Sunshine, which is supposedly content for women by women also.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either. That's great.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Anyway, that was JoBeth. So with that in mind, let's go and take a look at a Poltergeist film that, for me at least, I haven't seen in about 15 years or so now. When was the last time you saw Poltergeist before this, Paul?
Probably about 2 years ago, I reckon.
Very fresh in memory for you then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not massively familiar with the film. I've seen it a couple of times, but I don't know it like the back of my hand. Particularly, I can't remember JoBeth Williams' role particularly well in it at all. So I'll be keen to watch her character, see if we can identify what is significant about her character, about that role, and how it connects to what we've learned about her. So without further ado, let's get to the meat. Poltergeist.
They're here.
Sweetie, remember last night? Do you remember when you woke up and you said you were here?
Uh-huh.
Well, who did you mean? Who's here?
TV people.
Something's funny going on here next door. Something,
We were wondering if maybe you had experienced any disturbances lately.
What kind of disturbances?
I don't know what hovers over this house. I've never sensed anything like it.
That thing is in there with my baby!
they're hundreds. Now Stephen Spielberg crosses a frightening new threshold into a world within our own. Its form is revealed.
What is it?
Poltergeist, released 1982, directed by Tobe Hooper and starring JoBeth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, and Heather O'Rourke. Hit me, Paul. Poltergeist, how do you feel?
So I watched it when I was younger, and I watched it 2 years ago, returned to it because I hadn't seen it in so long. And I was like, oh my God, how had I slept on this film for so long? Because I absolutely bloody loved it. And I think it's to do with the fact that it has Spielberg's fingerprints all over it. It's this amazing horror, but family, like bound in a family kind of genre as well, that adds this extra kind of element to it that I absolutely bloody adore. And I think it just lays the groundwork for ghost films to come and plays love to all ghost films before it as well.
You're 100% right about Spielberg's fingerprints all over it. It feels like he could have directed it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Not Tobe Hooper.
No, I mean, that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre director doing this. It is like, you're right, it's bundled up in this family dynamic, which is what's interesting because I didn't remember that being the case. I always thought of it as a horror film for adults, particularly because of the Tangina character. She was very unsettling to me as a child when I must have watched it. It is very iconic, but it's very... Well, I was surprised to watch it this time around and see this sort of silly Goonies aesthetic to it at times with the effects. That worked for you, clearly.
Absolutely. The fun aspect, like so many amazing set pieces, and it plays so much in that family dynamic, which I absolutely love. That is to lure me into a film, and even a horror film. If you create some really lovable characters and they feel they're engaging, so bloody engaging, and it draws you into the rest of the story so easily. And the fact that it's this wrapped in this family dynamic, but it's also very dark. But then you get this very striking scene which is pastiche and Scary Movie, where JoBeth Williams' character is being pulled up the walls and basically attempted to be raped, right, by a poltergeist. Yeah. Which is crazy. The jarring nature of this film is incredible to me. And that's why it elevated so much above like a normal horror film for me.
I mean, is this PG?
Nah.
Are you sure? Hang on.
I don't think so.
I'm going to have to fact check that. Let me go on BBFC because I'd be surprised if it was, but I have that. Okay, so it's 15 rated here in the UK, but that it goes to the point of I question whether or not it was PG because it has that feel to it, and for me,
that's what's jarring.
It is jarring. I feel like that's what on this viewing I struggled with a little bit because I wanted it to feel less of a... It was kind of like a little bit of a romp at times. It was like, well, yes, like you say, we're doing dark horror, but now we're also being quite lighthearted. And I felt like I could have done, this is personal preference, I could have done with the lightness being dialed down a bit and us gone a little bit more into the darkness. However, it probably would not have an enduring appeal if that was the case, because I'm sure the reason why it has this long-lasting appeal is because it manages to do both. And that clearly works for you. So that's obviously a good thing.
The thing is, I think it absolutely did work for me. And I just think there's not many films out there like this. Yes, it is jarring, but it's when you get a horror film, I think that's the difference. I went into expecting all-out horror film because of the legacy this film has. And I think the legacy it has is a dark legacy, right? And so you immediately think, oh, those are the tones we're going to get. But when you start getting this lovable family with funny jokes about turning, like switching remotes to make the other neighbour's TV turn to a different channel and stuff like that, it's like you get these like lovely elements that you'd get in a Spielberg film like Jurassic Park or like E.T., but packaged up as this quite dark at moments horror films with also amazing set pieces. Yes, some of the effects don't hold up as well as they could have done, but they're
pretty good.
They're still pretty good. Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with the whole film. There's nothing in this film I'm like, nah, that's not as dated as well. Yeah. I'm with it for the whole film. It's incredible to me.
It's I think what you're getting from this, what I got from a recent episode, Arachnophobia, which I hadn't watched in a long time. Spielberg production again. Frank Marshall directs it. Frank Marshall is the co-writer of this, Poltergeist. So it kind of feels like it's in the same wheelhouse. And it is that same kind of thing where something horrific, at least for me, because I'm terrified of spiders, something quite horrific has this levity to it on the side, this lightness on the side. And it works for that because it's a bit of a silly film about spiders. So you spoke about the remotes. Let's talk about this, sir. Televisions, screens. You know, on the FilmBusters podcast, we like to talk about some themes, what's going on below the surface. The televisions in this, what for you? Like, what do you think their significance is? What is Spielberg and Tobe Hooper trying to tell us about the TV based on this? Do you reckon?
Well, it's definitely a toxic kind of feel, isn't it? Because you're getting this immediately we are introduced. The first time we get introduced to a TV is the American national anthem playing, like that. It's almost like it's trying to induct you into a way of life, like you should be saluting the flag at all times of your life. And I think it's this idea that a TV is very manipulative to adult minds, but also young minds, because it's very much about a child getting sucked into this TV, and there's clearly like this toxic nature or idea when writing this film that they feel about what TV does to young minds and everyone's minds in general, especially with media and the news.
Yeah. I mean, this was over 40 years ago released. Nowadays, you're right. It would be the consumption of media. It would be your phone, wouldn't it? That's how they would do it now, because everyone's sucked into the phone. It is like the Poltergeist for the first half of the film. Anyway, it is, because they lean so much into the TV symbolism. It's like they're kind of saying the poltergeist or the ghost is the TV. It's manipulated you. It's got into your homes. We're telling you what to think. We're making you brain dead. But then they sort of drop that. After she's sucked into the telly, they then drop that, and we don't really get it again until the final gag of pushing the TV out of the motel, which is very effective, by the way.
That's still how they talk to her, though, don't they? They talk to her through the TV. That's how they have any interaction with her.
All right, so help me out on this, because I was trying to work this out, and I still haven't come to an answer. The only other thing so when Carol Ann is sucked into the telly, when this first ghostly thing happens with the house, she's sucked into the telly, and her brother is grabbed by the tree, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like someone, whether it was Spielberg or Frank Marshall, was trying to say something about nature versus technology, because throughout their house there is that really tall creeping plant that goes over the staircase. You see, it's huge. At first I thought, I thought I was just reading into it, but then they keep framing it, and there's lots of plants in their house. Is there something in there about the tree actually because the dad says to the son, the tree will protect you.
Yeah.
But then the tree obviously doesn't protect him. But they have all of this growth and earthy nature stuff in their house. What is the significance of that, if anything?
That's true. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but it's very, because I don't think like they lent into the nature being a good thing, because the tree was pretty horrendous and it was clearly taken over by this entity in the house. So I wouldn't say there were two separate entities kind of bashing heads. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. There is that massive tree, and it's almost like the stairway into another realm, and this tree is kind of hanging over it, and almost like very eerie, and it feels. I mean, everything in a scene is there for a reason, to try and enact some kind of idea or thought. So it does not surprise me if that's something they're going for.
No, and that's what I was thinking as well. Exactly that. When I first clocked the plant growing up the stairs, I was thinking maybe it's nothing, but I then was like, no, hang on, this Stephen Spielberg's involved in this. That's there for a reason. And we know, in E.T., Spielberg, he has the power of nature in there. The whole thing is essentially about veganism to one extent, isn't it?
Yeah.
He loves plants. So there may be something there.
That is the why it's so kind of wonderful to me in a way, because it leans into these. It is like an adult kids film, really, because it's leaning into those themes that we used to love growing up. This leans into this nostalgia, but it gives you that in an adult package. Which,
you're right, it does.
Which I love an 80s film anyway, right? So that always 80s wins for me. And just the effects and just the kind of the style of filmmaking, it was another time, and it will never be like that ever again. So that is obviously why this also another reason why I love it so much. Just the way it's filmed, Spielberg, the jarring genres, and that is just incredible to me.
I feel like I enjoyed it less than I thought I was going to, which is because I haven't seen it in so long, which was the slight disappointing thing. But maybe I had just built it up too much in my mind. Maybe I should have gone in with a bit more sense of adventure and openness to it, because I think I was prepped for a full-on scary film. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I just hadn't. It hadn't occurred to me that it wasn't all scares and that there were quite a lot of laughs in it. It reminds me a little bit of what's the film called that you love? Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell,
Evil Dead.
Yeah. When the guy's in the mirror and he's pulling all the skin off his face and stuff, I was like, oh my God, this is Evil Dead type stuff here.
Yeah, that is. I think that one bit is the most out of place of all. It feels.
I mean, I did like it though.
Yeah, I liked it as well, but it doesn't feel like that is what the rest of the film's doing. It doesn't feel like the family friendly, even though it's not family friendly kind of feel.
Yeah.
And I think this is better than Evil Dead. I can say that up front. And I do
too.
It is the unique thing about this film is that it's not going to be all out ghoulish and horrendous like Evil Dead does. That's just trying to push the boundaries of gore and horror.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a total different kettle of fish. And it just feels so unique in that sense. And I think half of the battle of a horror film is to wrap you up in these characters that are in this situation. Yeah. And for me, the dynamic between the married couple, Steve and Diane, I absolutely adore them. Their relationship feels so real and so lovable. And I think the immediate time you get that is when they're in the bedroom and they're smoking weed and they're doing all these exercises and just have this really wonderful relationship. And even when you get to the point where there's this really dark stuff happening, they still get these two involved. There's a moment where they're about to go into the other realm and they share a kiss.
Yeah.
And they focus on it. It's not just throwaway. It's like, this is what you do in real life. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So
to give the film a little moment just to say, like, this is what means so much to them, the relationship between this family and the love they have between them, that just adds so much for me to the story.
I agree. I agree entirely. And you segued us nicely over to talking about JoBeth Williams and her character. So she's Diane in this film.
Yeah.
She gets the opening credit in the film's titles as well. So she is very much the lead in the whole film. And I think it's true. That is what I had forgotten, was how focused it actually is on that couple. Anyway, my memory was always Carol Ann and Tangina. I'd totally forgotten about that couple's dynamic. You're right. It is very real and it feels very true. And it's silly. The silliness that they have between them is what's
silliness.
Human.
Yeah. Now just stare. Okay. Now just be calm. Okay. Now reach back into our past when you used to have an open mind. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Just try to use that for the next couple of minutes. Okay?
Okay.
Mother didn't cook any dinner.
We'll go to Pizza Hut, okay? Okay, now...
What do you think about the difference in approach to everything that's happening between Diane and Steve? Steve being the dad, Diane the mum.
Steve being the dad, yeah.
Yeah.
This is another thing that I think is so incredible about the thing, which is so unique, is as soon as they don't mess around, right? It immediately gets into it, and it's like, there's a poltergeist. We're not gonna build up people not believing it. Like, straight away, Diane's like, we have a ghost. Let's just see where this goes. And she has fun.
She's
with
excited.
it.
Yeah, she's excited.
It.
Yeah,
and that adds so much fun for me into the film, because it's something I don't see. It's not something like her trying to escape the house or trying to stop these things from happening. She's having fun with it. She's seeing what she can do.
She's whooping and hollering and everything.
Yeah. And that's what's so different from any other film, even modern films nowadays. No one does that. No. It's so unique. And yes, so the difference between her and Steve is he is almost on the fence about this isn't happening a little bit. He can't believe it, but it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for him to change lanes and realise that, hey, this is just happening. And that's what I think is so refreshing about this film, is that they tackle it that way, because it's almost like jump over the boring bits, let's get to the bits you really want to see.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, that goes hand in hand with a thought that I had, which was we were almost an hour into the film. There was still like another 50 minutes, and we pretty much got to the point where most other horror films would be wrapping the fucking story up. But we were halfway through, and there's still another half of the film to go. And it's probably, as you say, because they just don't waste time with disbelief. They go straight forward. This is incredible. Let's see where this goes. Let's follow this thread. In a typical horror film, we have a final girl, obviously, so you focus on women a lot in horror films. But in a story like this, you would traditionally see, like, let's say Pet Sematary, for example, you would see us following the dad. It would be, how's the dad reacting to this? But this is, how's the mum reacting to this? Because he's so taken aback by it. Like, he spends the whole middle portion of the film, even towards the end, walking around with a beer in his hand, looking unkempt, looking like, for all the world, this has rocked him to his core. And she's like, no, let's work out how we're going to get Carol Ann back. When it gets to that point, she's the active one. And that's sort of linking, if we're thinking about JoBeth Williams and where her mentality was at in the role she was choosing, if she wanted a woman of substance rather than just a stand-in like any old mum, you can see her looking at the script for this and going, this mum is strong. She's real. She's active. She's not passively clinging onto her husband through it all, which is what was also very nice alongside their very authentic relationship with each other.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And that leads all the way on to her literally being the one to go into this place to get her daughter back. And the husband tries to, but she's like, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to be the one to save the day. And the husband, most of the time, I mean, in any other film, it would be the female who would maybe be a little bit more one note. But in this film, that it's the husband. He's almost only really cares about his job, because he's realised that this whole time they've been just putting houses on top of graves, basically, this whole time. And that's his journey there of being like, fuck you to my job.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I absolutely love the journey of Diane in this. It's all about her, and just her, also the relationship with her and the I guess, parapsychologist. And she is, once again, in the lead role. This strong woman who's in charge of these men who do the experiments. Yeah.
It's definitely the kind of thing that I think, for me at least, if we'd covered this on FilmBusters, maybe we would have picked up on it, but I don't think, without having sort of researched into JoBeth Williams and picked out the little nuggets that she champions women filmmakers and stories about women, I don't think we would have necessarily articulated that from this film, because there's so much other stuff to talk about, wouldn't necessarily have picked up on that. But when you know, it's kind of interesting.
Absolutely, for sure.
She's much more connected to everything that's happening once Carol Ann's sucked in, right? Because she even says to her husband, reach back into our past when you used to have an open mind as well. It's like saying you've become numb and dull, where he's the one who's there with the remote control acting like a gun.
It's true.
He's just used to suburban life, whereas she's like proactive, much more connected to her daughter and the house.
I think you get that in that scene where they're in the bedroom, where she's the one. It's almost like she's rambling, but she's the one with all the ideas and speaking. He's just like, yeah, and he's just watching TV and reading his. I can't remember what he's reading. Oh, he's reading about a president. That's what he's reading about.
That's right. He's reading about a president, Reagan or something, and she's reading Carl Jung, which, for our Frasier fans, Niles is a Union. Niles subscribes to the beliefs of Carl Jung. So there's a Frasier connection right there.
There you go. It's been there all along.
It's been there all along. I also think that just to go back to talk about Poltergeist as a whole, but it also relates to JoBeth Williams. The thing that's interesting is you think you've got the end of the movie when they get Carol Ann back, and then we have a whole other ending. Like most other horror films could have just... Obviously, we always get the the fake out. Oh, you think it's all over, but it ain't. We get that a lot, obviously. But the way that this film plays out, when they get Carol Ann back, it really does feel like that could have been the ending for this film. So to get this whole other, it's not a fake out, is it? We get a whole other 15 minutes of madness that comes with it.
15, 20 minutes, yeah. And I think, I love that you also like headline this whole last 15 minutes with him leaving. It's basically her story again at this last bit, and they start with them mouthing to each other, "I love you," which is like, this has got to be prevalent through the whole thing, this relationship between the both of them, the love they have. But then I love this. I always feel, I get to this point in the film and I'm like, okay, it could end right now. I can't believe there's 20 minutes left. But then so much happens and so much iconic stuff happens. And it's much. It's just like, well, those 20 minutes were needed.
You know,
the clown, the swimming pool, the bodies, all the bodies coming up with the graves and the coffins. Wonderful.
Now check this out. You won't believe this. You know the skeletons that are coming out of the pool at the end?
Oh, I read that. Nuts.
Isn't that insane? So listeners, they were real. How can you do that?
And they didn't tell the actors.
No. Can you imagine?
I wanted to go back, but I forgot. I wanted to go back and have a little look at what they look like, just to see the realness of them. But that's nuts. It wouldn't happen nowadays.
Yeah. No, there'd be a lot of complaints if that was the case. I'm going to just quickly drop in a few bits of trivia. I don't do a lot, but I like to bring in some that kind of relate to our actress, our guest star of the week. So, well, obviously we got that one about the skeletons just there. I mentioned Dogs of War as a film that JoBeth Williams was in the early 80s. She had a big part in it, but loads of it was cut. But the British version didn't cut out a lot of her footage. And it was while Stephen Spielberg was in London, he went to the cinema and he saw the unedited version, saw her in the Dogs of War, and then immediately cast her as the mum in this because he was so impressed by her performance in that. Apparently, she claimed she had a supernatural experience while making the film. Whenever she would go home from filming, she said all the pictures on the walls of her house were crooked, and every time she would fix them, she would come back from filming and they would be crooked again.
Wow. Nice.
I mean,
I know.
Call me a cynic.
It doesn't surprise me. With this film, it feels like a cursed film where so much has gone wrong. I mean,
you know about other stuff. You know about the other curse.
Well, yeah, like the two kids have died in it, right? There's two of them. One of them was murdered. One of them died of disease, was it?
She had something wrong with her intestines. The Carol Ann died. Yeah. She was only 12 years old. It's nuts. Yeah. The other one was murdered, which is
murdered.
insane.
Yeah, strangled, I believe, and also I believe another crew member was also murdered. They were also strangled, I believe. Maybe not strangled, but they murdered in some way.
It carries on to, well, I mean, you know, people dying doesn't necessarily mean things are cursed, but it certainly has played this franchise because Poltergeist 2. Have you seen Poltergeist 2?
No, I need to watch them all.
Again, I can barely remember anything from it, but the one thing I can remember, which is the most terrifying, is the old man in it. You will remember him, surely. He looks like a Amish
I remember you telling me this, yeah.
He was dying of cancer while he filmed it, so he was really gaunt, but he lent into it for the performance, and it's burnt into my mind as the terrifying thing. But he died after that, so he was part of the curse. And I think Tangina, Zelda Rubinstein, the actress who played it, I think she died during or something like that. I mean, people die. It doesn't mean that there's
of course.
a curse,
but
still.
It's just a coincidence at the end of the day, and it's just a coincidence that's happened around multiple times on one film. I'm sure there'd be another film where someone was murdered, but you wouldn't even think twice about it.
There is another, I can't think what it is now. There is another film that is like the cursed film because everyone that's involved in it, something terrible happened. I can't remember what it is now, but it's another horror film.
I mean, it comes with the territory, doesn't it? When it's a horror,
it does. It's good for the film's legacy. And final thing. Zelda Rubinstein, who plays Tangina, she believes she did have psychic abilities. in real life, much like Daphne in Frasier. And she has said in interviews that she didn't like Tobe Hooper at all because she could tell he had a serious drug problem while making the film. Let me tell you, if I had a serious drug problem and I was able to direct a film like this, I would be the most functioning drug addict ever.
Tell me about
Can you
it.
imagine having a drug problem and being able to direct this? I would not be able to operate.
What a life.
I know, what a life.
I mean, when Craig Nelson and I were making Poltergeist, we would, because of course we didn't know what the special effects were going to look like. So we're just kind of screaming at a stick that Stephen Spielberg or Tobe Hooper, our director, were holding up. And we didn't know what it was going to be. And we'd kind of look at each other and go, well, this will probably go straight to the drive-in. I mean, we did figure that with Steven Spielberg writing it and producing it and being so involved that it would get some attention, but we had no idea it would be a big hit, or that years later people would still be watching it.
I just want to say that I love the family dynamic. I love the really small sense of humor it has, and the whole situation with putting the bird down the toilet, and this last segment where we get the last 20 minutes and the sister shows up from being with her boyfriend and she has a hickey on her neck. You just see it really briefly.
I didn't even notice that.
It's just like it's been put there just for a little, like a rewatchability factor, just to see it. Maybe if you don't see it the first time.
Didn't even know.
I just think it has a great sense of humor. The family dynamic's amazing. It's played so well into the ghost horror genre, and it is a crucial film of that subgenre, and I think it is bloody incredible.
You do indeed. I saw your Letterboxd scores. It may shock and appall you, Paul, that over here on the Frasier on Film podcast, I don't even give a rating out of 10. I don't give a rating to the film.
No, that's fine.
I just
you don't
talk
rate it
about
out of Frasier characters.
See that's an interesting gimmick. I should think about that.
It's
going
3
forward.
Niles out of 5.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. Definitely. There's definitely some legs in that. But go ahead, Paul, because you're the guest. Go ahead and give it a rating out of 10, won't you?
So 2 years ago, or last year when I watched it, it was a 9 out of 10, and I was so surprised by it. And rewatched it again the other day. I was like, this film's bloody perfect. It's 10 out of 10.
Look at that. That's amazing. Can I ask you, do you think, there's last thing before we move on to the end, do you think since becoming a dad that you have a different relationship to the film because now all of a sudden it has the family dynamic of what's happening in the movie takes on a new life because you are a father to yourself?
Yeah, potentially. Absolutely. It could be that factor as well, yeah, for sure. Because let me just say this as well about them as a couple. The fact that you could be silly and be having fun in the comfort of your own little bedroom, but then as soon as your kids come in, you got to turn into the stern parents. And I could totally buy into that. That is kind of what we do as well.
Excellent.
I just really feel the need to make a connection.
Well, Niles, I think you've made a connection. It just seems a little bit extreme, though, you know?
So, Paul, that sound clip you just heard means it's the part of the show where we try to link everything back to the episode of Frasier we just watched. We call this the Crane Connection. Specifically, this is the part of the show where we try to link JoBeth Williams Danielle, who was calling in having problems with her monsieur, to JoBeth Daniels' Diane Freeling, the mother who will stop at nothing to protect her family. Paul, this is where we try and make a reach. Can you somehow connect those two characters? Go for it.
Easy. So basically, this whole other realm that they go into in Poltergeist, it seems to be part of like some frequency they get sucked into or something. So maybe in the sequels, I haven't seen the sequels, but maybe Diane, she goes into this other realm and the frequencies interfere with the frequencies of Frasier's radio station. And he's calling out for help about Monsieur, but he doesn't understand what's going on and she doesn't understand what's going on. But that's the link I'm making.
That is excellent. That's the perfect one. You're absolutely right. We're talking about frequencies and signals here. If it goes from the TV in the first film to the radio, that makes 100% sense. And it's all about trying to communicate. It's all about trying to be heard and not being heard and not being able to get get your point across. That works very, very well, Paul. I'm happy for you to have made that crane connection there, because that's better than anything I could have done.
Thank you.
Paul, we come to the end now. Before I close out the podcast, thank you so much for coming on. You're the first ever guest. It feels
a pleasure.
Very comforting for me, because I know that I'm in my safe space when I'm with you. So bless you for being decent. Paul, tell us some things. Tell us where people can find you elsewhere.
So you can find me on most social places at FilmBusters Paul. But obviously you know that me and Ben, we've got a wonderful podcast as well, FilmBusters. So you can come find me over there on all wonderful podcasting platforms. But also got another little podcast that I do with another friend called Scott, which is a DC-related podcast, and that's called DC and Proud. So come find me over there too.
DC and Proud is your niche passion project, kind of like this Frasier one. It's where we're both big film buffs, but we have areas of things that are of particular interest to us. And yeah, Paul is the DC man. He's the Batman man. Many of you will know who will be listening, but for those of you who don't, if you want the goods on DC, that's absolutely your corner of the internet to go to, because he's got you covered on all of it. He goes through seasons. You do different seasons based on specific characters from the DC world. You've done Wonder Woman. You've done you have
Superman.
done Batman. You did Superman first, right? What are you on at the moment?
Batman, Wonder Woman. At the moment, we're on the Joker season, Cackles and Capes season.
Cackles and capes. So if that sounds like it's going to float your boat, which I'm sure it will, head that way. Paul, thank you very much, sir. I very much appreciate you coming on. I'm just going to close out the episode, and because that brings us to the end. So let's say goodbye to Frasier's mother's infidelity. Let's say goodbye to Danielle's ridiculous grasp of the English language. Let's say goodbye to Diane and her spectre-stalked family. Goodbye to JoBeth Williams, and more power to her attempts to get female representation both on and off the screen. And finally, goodbye to our dear friend Paul, who has been such a sport, joining me on this ridiculous little journey of mine through Frasier on film. Finally, actually, thank you to you, dear listeners, for liking, subscribing, sharing, and all that other good stuff. Don't forget, you can stay up to date with upcoming episodes by subscribing to the podcast. Just search for Frasier on Film on all the usual podcast platforms to make sure you don't miss a single episode. You can connect with me online on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook using @FrasierOnFilm, and you can get in touch via email using FrasierOnFilm@gmail.com. And if you go into the light just a little further, you might find it in your heart to leave me a 5-star rating on Apple. Please go ahead and do that. Next week's episode introduces us to the legendary character of B.B. Glazer, Frasier's deal with the devil, no-nonsense agent. Our guest actor for that episode will be Mr. Carl Reiner, legendary funny man, best known for his turns behind the camera when he's directing, but we'll be focusing on one of his star turns in front of the camera as we tackle 1966. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Good night, Seattle. We love you.